Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the Ingrid rank up series. We're going to be talking about the silver rank this time, and the main thing to get down in the silver rank is your Okizeme. That's basically going to be the only thing we're talking about in this video. It's complicated enough for a whole video. Okizeme is your wake up pressure. So when we knock our opponent down, how can we keep pressuring them when they get off the floor? Right, so in that situation, JP was waking up trying to jab. Let's have a look. Jab. Yeah, he was trying to stop us from putting pressure on him. The reason why he couldn't is because I pressed my crouching medium punch such that he woke up with that fist in his face. Okay, so in that situation, my fist takes action, hits him before he is able to get his button out, even though his jab is only 4 frames. He's got invincible frames while he's waking up off the ground, but as soon as those invincible frames wear off, my fist is in his face and he takes the hit. Now, of course, what do you do against someone who's trying to punch you? You block. So if JP was to wake up blocking, what would we do? We can put him on common actions backwards. We can put him on backwards for 8 continuous frames. So he's going to wake up trying to block. What would we do in this situation? We would throw him. And this leads into, I guess, what is the most fundamental premise of Street Fighter, which is strike throw pressure. So if your opponent is blocking, you throw them. If they try to stop the throw, you punch them. All right. There is a defensive strategy called delay teching, which we are going to talk about in gold, which stops both of these moves. But if your opponent is delay teching, then we'll do what's called the shimmy, which we'll introduce in the platinum video. So if your opponent is delay teching, if they are doing common actions, where is the throw? Normal throw, and they are doing normal throw on 8 frames, then you will find that both your strikes are blocked and your throws are broken. Alright, very unlikely that anyone is doing this to you in the low grades, but if someone is doing this to you, you can shimmy them. So we pretend to throw, and then when we see their throw animation, we hit them with the big punish counter. Don't worry about shimmies for now, I'm just explaining the fundamentals to you. What we're going to be doing in this video is looking at all the different ways that Ingrid can knock people down, and then all the different ways that she can maintain her pressure after those knockdowns. Alright, so let's have a bit of a look at that. So the first knockdown we are going to look at is the throw, because it's the simplest. After Ingrid does a throw, she does not have Okizeme. Alright, your opponent is all the way across the screen. You might be able to drive rush towards them, but if they are waking up jab, they are going to beat you. Right, that jab came out when I was still halfway across the screen. Right, there is no Oki on throw, except charge. Right, and that's the main thing you want to be doing. In fact, I would say that I probably throw with Ingrid more than with any other character, even though throwing is insanely powerful in Street Fighter 6, because you always want to get stocks with Ingrid. And after you throw someone, you get mad stocks, and this is true even if they are recovering in place, and better people should recover in place against a lot of Ingrid's stuff, because you see there after I stocked, I'm minus 11. So JP has 11 frames to punish me, but here he's too far away for any of those punishes to work. Even if he was to drive rush at me, I would be able to check that drive rush. So after the throw, just get your stock off and be happy. Right? Okay, that's true of her back throw as well. Right, minus 12, but he's a bit too far away to punish me. Right, this is not true for some of her other Oki. So let's have a look at the most important other Oki, which is her ballerina. So there, I am similarly minus 10, but look how close I am to JP. So if instead of waking up with a crouching light punch, he was to simply wake up with a sweep, what would happen? Oh, he's too far away. What a loser. There are other characters who will not be too far away. Right, so she got the counter hit on us there, right? Because we hadn't finished our move yet. I'll show you again. Right, there was no way I could block that. I was holding block the whole time. Now, in the higher grades, players will not will do this deliberately. So they will deliberately wake up slow, or wake up fast, sorry, on the spot, so that they can punish you trying to stock after a ballerina. In the lower grades, people just don't know how to quick rise. To quick rise, you press any two buttons as you're falling down, and you will, back rise, right? So in the dummy settings, if we have him recovering backwards, we're going to get a very different situation than if we're recovering in place. If you want to be smart, you can observe this and make your decisions on that basis. So if I charge after I see him back rolling, then I can easily get a stock off in this situation. But generally speaking, I wouldn't get in the habit of stocking after a ballerina. What you want to do instead is to go for some Okizeme. So let's talk about the Okizeme after the medium ballerina. This is the most instructive situation for us. So what happens first if we double dash? So I'm going to go back to the reversal settings for a minute and turn off all these different wake up options. So if I double dash, I'm -2. So in this situation, if JP was to wake up jab, there would be no way that I can stop him from jabbing me, even if I'm pressing my fastest button, the jab. Let's have a look. Wake up reversal, crouching light punch. Right, if you look at my inputs there on the left-hand side of the screen, I was mashing light punch and he still beat me because his button is 4 frames, my button is 4 frames, but I'm -2 to start, so his button comes out 2 frames faster than mine. I definitely can't throw him because the throw is even slower than the jab, right? So what can I do in this situation? Well, one option is instead of double dashing, I would do a single dash and then press my heavy kick, right? This actually works pretty well. Right, I still get the hit there. Now I'm +8, right? You can do this to just stop people who love to mash. And in the lower grades, people love just waking up with a jab, right? So if you see someone doing that, single dash, heavy kick, right? Or single dash, heavy punch also working. Got plenty of options there. The problem with this strategy is that if your opponent's smart, they'll just wake up blocking and you can't do anything, right? So let's put JP on waking up backwards for 8 frames. Right, so he just blocks there, no problem. And after he blocks, you're quite far away from him, so you can't continue your pressure and you're -3. Right, we're too far away. Oh no, we can get a throw there, but we're -3. So really JP's the one who's going to be throwing us. He has the advantage. Right, not a bad situation, but I don't think I'd really bother with this. What we want is a situation where we can both strike and we have the advantage, or throw and we have the advantage. We can't do this after a dash because we're too far away for the throw. Right, too far away. So how can we get closer? Well, the answer is drive rush. So after we launch him into the sky, we are going to be doing the drive rush. Then, if he is waking up punch, we're going to get there faster than him. And we can just continue the sequence. You saw that when he woke up, I got what's called a counter hit. Let's have another look. Watch for it on the left-hand side of the screen. Right, the counter hit. A counter hit means that my opponent tried to press a button, but I hit him before that button came out. What happens on counter hit is that you get more frames. So remember that on hit, medium punch is usually +1. On counter hit, I get those 2 extra frames, so now I'm +3. Remember that on drive rush, you get 4 extra frames. So now instead of being +1, I'm +7. Because I'm +7, I can combo medium punch into crouching medium punch, which I usually can't do. So here, he gets the block off. But if I am drive rushing, I get the combo. All right, and that's the basic situation that we want to set up for ourselves. What happens if instead of waking up with the jab, he wakes up with the block? In this situation, we are +4, right? So we can now beat his jab. If he tries to block and then jab us, we are able to throw him after this move, and there's nothing he can do to stop us. Let's have a look at that. So I'm going to put him on block reversal, crouching light punch. That's his fastest button. Do you see the counter hit there on the left-hand side? That's because after he blocked, he tried to jab me, but my 5-frame throw came out before his jab, right? This is a very important part of the strike throw pressure. First, we have strike throw pressure on his wake up. I can both throw him or punch him. And then if I punch him and he blocks, I'm still in his face and I still have that strike throw pressure, okay? Let's quickly have a look at what happens when he when he blocks. So if he's blocking and he blocks my punch, another thing that I can just be doing is throwing him on wake up instead.
Close your eyes.
Right. Now, what if he was jabbing? Would he beat my throw? It's a pretty tight window, and sometimes I stuff it up, but generally speaking, if you're drive rushing, you can throw him before he is able to jab you. Right, there I was too soon. That's why he got the punish counter, because my throw had already come out. There I was too late. But there you can see I got the counter hit and I threw him. So if your timing is right, you can either punch him and beat the jab or throw him and beat the jab. And that means that you have strike throw pressure on wake up after the ballerina as long as you drive rush. Right? Remember that then if you come in and he blocks this medium punch, you can then throw him off that, or you can also jab him. So let's have a look at that. So he's on wake up reversal block. He's on block reversal crouching light punch. So he's going to try to block my wake up pressure and then jab me out of it. I'm going to continue my string. Right, I got the hit. Now the problem with following up with the crouching medium punch there is that I'm now too far away to continue my pressure. So I was +8 on that hit, which is pretty tasty. So I can get this off, but I can't get any of my other buttons. So you've got to be careful with this one. Let's have a look. And continue the string. Alright, so Okizeme usually snowballs. It continuously loops. If your opponent doesn't stop you on your Okizeme pressure, then they will be in another Okizeme situation, which is why Street Fighter 6 is sometimes jokingly referred to as Casino Fighter 6, because you are always just guessing and gambling on defense, which to be honest is pretty annoying and one of the things I hate most about this game. But in any case, you will just want to be getting good at that. It is the essence of this game, so put your opponent in the casino. So you'll be noticing now that there is a kind of flow chart starting to emerge. So after our knockdown, we want to go drive rush, and then we want to either throw or strike or shimmy, right? But the shimmy is quite difficult off the drive rush. We'll leave it in any case for platinum. So we're going strike or throw. If our opponent blocks the strike, then we again want to throw or strike. If our second strike hits, then we want to continue with the crouching medium kick, because that's going to give us the combo, right? Remember that crouching medium punch doesn't usually combo into crouching medium kick because it's only +6. Right, he blocks it there. It's because of that counter hit that I can get that combo. So there will be situations where your opponent isn't mashing jab. What they're trying to do is jump. And the reason why you're getting the hit is because they're not blocking when they're jumping, but you will get them out of that situation. So why would they jump? Because jump is immune to throw, sorry. So if I put common actions vertical jump, right? So he's going to block my wake up pressure and then he's going to try to jump my throw. Right? So he jumped there. What I did was I kicked him out of that jump. That's a very hard skill. I can't necessarily do it in matches, but I do it like more often than not nowadays, which I'm very proud of. You'll see the pros do that all the time. So people very rarely neutral jump to beat a throw in Pro Street Fighter. They backdash instead. But let's not get too complicated with ourselves. What happens if my opponent is trying to jump and I just keep going with the strike pressure? Right, so what will happen is that you will not get that counter hit, and now you're on +6 frames instead of +8, so this won't combo. Let's have a quick look. Right, just blocking it out. So we've got to be careful here. You've got to visually confirm the counter hit, and that's quite complicated. So what you might want to do instead is, rather than go for this sequence and in a sense get greedy, you might just want to go for crouching light kick afterwards and do this simple sequence. Right, easy enough, but again you have to visually confirm that the light kick hit, and then you can go into the jab combo. And that is quite hard, and you will need to practice it probably for several hours in order to do it consistently. You do not want to accidentally go into backflip when you haven't got the hit, because then you will eat a huge punish from your opponent. But this is quite hard part of Oki. You need to set up all these different scenarios and practice them until your brain can register what's happening on screen. If we didn't get the counter hit, if our opponent just blocked, so if I put him again on blocking, so we're going to put him on block for another 8 continuous frames. So now he is going to wake up blocking, and then he is going to continue blocking. Right, so now I am -1, and if I was to continue with my crouching medium kick here, and instead he did crouching medium kick, so I'm going to put him on crouching medium kick, or actually for JP maybe crouching medium punch, and we'll put that on a 2 count delay. So he's going to block twice before he tries to do it. Yeah, he beats us there. So I tried to autopilot my pressure into the crouching medium kick, and he snapped us out of it with his crouching medium punch. So we've got to be a little bit careful there. If we get blocked on our second medium punch, we are now minus. If you want to be really crafty, you can try to just go into fireball instead of going into crouching medium kick, because that should beat his buttons. Right? That will stuff his medium punch. Yeah. So the whole game is elaborate rock, paper, scissors in these kind of situations. You're always guessing, always doing all sorts of stuff. But generally speaking, I think at Silver, it's too soon to be worrying about all these confirms. So all you need to do is get that strike throw game going, and remember that if you get the hit off the second strike, you can follow up with the crouching medium kick for the win. Otherwise, just stop here. And now you just want to practice this situation. Try to be a bit realistic about it. So what we want to turn on is wake up reversal block, wake up reversal crouching light punch. That's how we're going to start. Turn off all the block reversals. Alright, so we want to practice. If he blocks that first one, either throw him or continue with the strike. He blocked both of them that time. Sometimes we want to get the throw. Right, there I was a bit slow getting my medium punch out, which is why we got the trade. Nice. That's all we're doing. Just continue doing that. And try to always be getting that counter hit. What you really want to avoid is getting jabbed out of your throw, because that's going to end your pressure and it's going to turn the game around. And it's something that's quite easy to do, and players in the lower grades will just be mashing jab. So if your throw timing is not good, you're going to lose out. Right? So that's covering our Okizeme for the medium ballerina. The light ballerina is exactly the same. That drive rush will get you the same sort of pressure. If you go for light or medium ballerina and you try to stock afterwards, your opponent can knock you down with a sweep. JP can't because he's too far away from you. His sweep is really shitty and doesn't reach. But most characters, Chun-Li, Ryu, Ken, whatever, if they wake up on the spot, they can sweep you out of it. So do not go for ballerina stock unless you see that your opponent is mindlessly back rolling, in which case you can do it. In contrast, the medium beam finisher, which you should be using more often, does go into stock safely, right? Even if your opponent is recovering in place, right? You are still able to get that stock off safely. If he charges at you, you will be able to check him. All right. So generally speaking, beam does not have Okizeme. Its Okizeme is to stock, same as throw, right? What about heavy ballerina? Here we have something a little bit different, a more complex situation, or in some ways a less complex situation. Right, so heavy ballerina, let's just turn off all his wake up options and see what our Oki situation is. Oops. Right, we are +5. If you are getting less than +5, it's because you're not dashing fast enough. And the way to practice that is just to be mashing jab on landing. Look at my inputs there on the left, forward, 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 forward. Once you see the dash animation start, then you can think about what your next button is going to be for your Okizeme. Now, because we are +5 and on top of him, we can of course throw. And there's no way that he can jab us out of it because our throw comes out on 0 frames. His jab still needs 4 more frames to come out. Because we're +5, we can also do what we did before with the medium punch. The problem is that the medium punch, even on counter hit, is only going to be +3 frames, and that's not enough for us to get any sort of combo pressure. So in this situation, I don't think we want to use the medium punch. We want to use something different. Either we can use crouching medium punch, because this is going to be +8, so we can combo into the medium punch. But it's not clear that the medium punch will reach, right? Because we're so far away. But we might be able to just do double crouching medium punch. Let's have a turn his wake up pressure on. Yeah, we get the combo off, no problem. All right, so that's one option. The other option would be to go into crouching light kick and then a nice little jab jab pressure string. And we want to confirm that into the ballerina. Because remember, jab does not go into the beam. Yeah? Let's have a look at that. Right. Now the nice thing about this is that crouching light kick will beat anyone who is not crouch blocking. If they are just walking backwards, they will actually get caught. We can check that by putting backwards on for 8 frames. Let's see what happens. Right, so just going backwards doesn't stop it. You have to literally stop in place and crouch block, and that makes it easier for us to throw them. Okay. The other nice thing about crouching light kick is that you get 2 jabs afterwards in which to confirm that you have in fact hit them. Okay. So if I was to turn on do nothing as part of his wake up reversal. Now, I think he should wake up blocking. Right, and then he just keeps blocking. But I got to see whether he was going to try to do something different. If, for example, I put him on block reversal crouching light punch, right, there he tried to jab me. My jab comes out sooner, because this is called a rapid fire button. So even though crouching light kick is usually negative on block, even though it's usually -2 on block, if you rapid fire it, it overrides that -2 and you get basically a pure combo off this. So even if he's trying to jab me out of it, he'll still get hit. And then I get 2 jabs to confirm visually that I have in fact hit him and get the conversion. This is quite hard to visually confirm that, but it's absolutely 100% worth practicing. One of the most important things to practice is visually confirming your light strings and generally visually confirming that you've got hits in these kind of Okizeme situations. All right, so off the ballerina, we can either dash and throw, we can dash, crouching light kick, and go into this string. If our opponent notices that we're always pressuring him off our light strings, maybe they'll just keep blocking, and then you can even do, if they keep blocking, you can just walk up and throw. And that's all we can dash up. Crouching medium punch, crouching medium punch. But that's really relying on getting the counter hit. Right, so let's have a look at that. Right, so if we dash up and we get the counter hit, then it'll combo, because on counter hit it's +8 and this is a 7-frame button. But if we don't get the counter hit because our opponent was jumping or something like that, or just, you know, not doing anything, then they'll block the second one, right? So this is a little bit risky, especially if you go and you don't visually confirm the counter hit and you just go into your ballerina. Now you are going to eat a big punish, right? So you need to be visually confirming the counter hit, visually confirming the counter hit. If you do the forward heavy kick teleport, the whole point of this is that it kicks them across the screen. If they rise on the spot like that, they can put pressure on you again. It's very rare, well, I haven't found anyone to be rising on the spot against me when I do that follow-up. Right, so generally speaking, we don't want to be stocking after this. If they rise on the spot, we want to do the pressure. But as I said, basically everyone I see back rises when I do the kick, in which case it's very easy to get a stock off. The butt slam, same sort of story. Right, so if you see your opponents always back rising after these moves, then get your stocks off. If you see them not back rising, then you've got to start putting pressure on them to encourage them to back rise. All right, generally speaking, when you do the butt slam, it's usually off beams. So let's have a look at that. In which case you can get the ground bounce and go into this spin. I think this is one of Ingrid's most important things. I use it all the time because it does stupid damage, 3,500 damage off a casual combo of 2 bars. You get like half a screen of corner carry and you get Okizeme off your medium ballerina. So this is like a completely nuts combo. You can do it off drive impact punishes. You can do it off jump-ins. Right, absurd stuff. 4,000 damage off a jump-in for only 2 bars. You get the same sort of corner carry as most people do off drive rushing. Man, amazing. Like, people talk about how busted Ingrid is. I think this is one of the things that makes her like a very, very top tier character, is how much economy you get off your drive bar once you have stocks. Of course, you do need 2 sunstocks to make that happen, but it's not especially hard to get 2 sunstocks. Maybe I should say, and thank you to Hylomorph from YouTube for alerting me to this. In the previous video, I was talking about using heavy punch as a combo starter for a lot of your 12-frame punishes, and that's not really worth it because the damage scaling is so high. I'll just show you this quickly. So if I put him on block reversal malice, and now I put him on block everything, you can see that this is a -14 button. So previously I would say do this. You should still start with that if you want to go into this combo, because you need the 23 frames off the punish counter. We know that we're in our good Okizeme situation there, but there's so much damage scaling on that that you don't actually, sorry, that's worth it. What's not worth it is this. Right? There's so much damage scaling on this combo that you only get 100 damage more than if you just went straight into your crouching heavy punch. So I think you should almost always just go straight into the crouching heavy punch in almost all situations. Use this as a whiff punishing tool in neutral, and use it if you want to start with the big combo. Right, let's try one more time. Right, that's going to hit him for a casual 5,000 damage. Alright, let's continue with our Okizeme. So we've talked about basically all the key moves. The only ones that we haven't talked about so far is the supers. So level 1 doesn't get Oki mid-screen, but it does get it in the corner. So if we do it in the mid-screen, right, we can see that these very far away. We can go into heavy kick, but oftentimes after that we're just going to want to stock anyway. Same sort of story with level 3, you can stock, but it's pretty hard to get any other pressure. The only exception to this is teleporting into them. Actually works pretty well.
I bestow my power onto you. Ooh, not bad. You need an example?
Right. An opponent who has an invincible uppercut can beat that, but they have to be ready for it. Right? Most people are not ready for your Okizeme after you do the level 3, right? So I think that basically covers all her mid-screen Okizeme. Let's talk a little bit about the corner. There's two things I want to introduce here that are both very worth learning, but are probably a little bit advanced for this level. Well, the first one is definitely a bit advanced for this level, and that's that after you do medium ballerina in the corner, if you press crouching light kick and then overhead, so this is going to be a frame kill to get the timing right, and then this overhead is going to become more advantageous than it was previously. Let's try to explain this situation. So, first I'm just going to have JP on block after first hit, and we're going to do our medium ballerina. Right. Usually on counter hit we are +5, which is enough to get a little combo off on JP. Good stuff. If JP were to simply block this button, usually we'd be -3. If we get the timing right, we can not only get that to be less negative, but we can also get it to the point where on hit, we aren't just +3 or +5 on the counter hit, but actually have even more frame advantage than that. So let's try to have a look at this. Still +5, I didn't get the timing right. +7. So if you get the timing right on this, you can get those extra frames, and that means that you can now do beefier combos, right? So on +7, we can go into crouching medium punch, for example, or we can go into standing medium punch. Right, +7. What if they block? Waking up backwards. So remember that usually we're -3. Still -3, I've got the timing wrong. -1. If you're like absolutely frame perfect with this, you can get it to just 0, in which case your jab pressure is going to work. But generally speaking, this is not so much about getting the defensive frame advantage, it's about getting the offensive frame advantage. So with +7 or +5, even if they try to jump or something and you don't get the counter hit, you can continue into a wider variety of combos. And I think this is worth doing. It's generally a bit freaky watching people frame kill in front of you. Lower level players will immediately assume that you've stuffed something up, and so they will wake up trying to jab, and they will eat this into a counter hit for +7 frames, and you can continue your pressure. So that's something worth learning. It's worth mixing into Ingrid's arsenal. The more important thing that I think you should definitely try to learn is the fireball pressure. So usually when Ingrid is in the corner, she is not able to get what's called a throw loop. Throw loops are one of the most annoying, lame, stupid things about Street Fighter 6. All the Western players hate them. There seem to be more fondness for them in Japan, and certainly Capcom doesn't seem to want to get rid of them, even though they got rid of them in Street Fighter 5. So a throw loop is basically a situation where you can just keep throwing your opponent. I'll show you with Ryu, who has a very simple throw loop. So if we put JP to wake up jabbing, Ryu can just keep throwing him. There's nothing JP can do about this, right? If JP tries to start teching in this situation, he's going to eat an enormous shimmy punish, right? And this is like a big part of high level Street Fighter at the moment. A lot of characters have these throw loops. When they get you into the corner, they just keep throwing you, and it's super boring, right? Ryu, Akuma, Dalsim, Mai has one of the most abusive ones. Ken doesn't quite anymore, but when he was the #1 character in the game, it was because he had a throw loop. So these are like very, very egregious, annoying things. Some characters, their throw loop is locked behind a drive rush. So Sagat, for example. So if Sagat tries to dash in, the dummy will be able to punch him out of his throw. Let's have a look. Right, I can't get the throw out in time before the jab, but if I drive rush, then I can. Right. Still better, but you do get some drive rush back from throwing, times passing. You know, you can get a very long, like 6 throws loop happening with this kind of situation. It's still pretty disgusting. It's still not fun. That's kind of the main thing for me. Now, Ingrid doesn't have a throw loop, and it's not even locked behind a drive rush, right? So let's get into the corner. If I throw JP, dash and throw, he'll beat me. Right? No chance. Right? If I try to drive rush, the situation's still the same. Right? Because Ingrid's drive rush is very slow, right? She actually gets smacked earlier there. So you might think, oh, Ingrid doesn't have a throw loop, she sucks. But she actually has pretty much the same thing, and I'll show you why. Right, if you throw out a fireball like this, then your opponent is basically stuck on the spot. They're not going to be jabbing because they see that you're very far away. But that fireball is just going to sit in front of them and allow you to walk up. And then you will be able to get the throw. I can show you that we can get the throw because we turn on block reversal, crouching light punch. Right, we've got the counter hit. So he's trying to jab me out there, but he can't jab me out, right? So this is, I think, layer 1 of Ingrid's offense after she does a throw. So pretty much always after your throw, you can start off with this, right? What can your opponent do about it? Well, first option would be to jump. So if we put his reversal settings to, instead of light punch, he's going to do a forward jump. What would happen there? I can still anti-air him. If I'm really coming in for the throw though, it's going to be hard. I'm going to have to do the cross-cut throw. Basically. Right, so that is basically how to get out of this pressure from Ingrid, but you are going to eat that jump in, right?
Close your eyes.
Right, but if I jab, then this beats the jump out. I can get the combo, right? So my opponent is just straight back into that strike throw pressure that people have when they're waking up into a throw loop. So to say Ingrid doesn't have a throw loop is kind of incorrect. But there's other things that they can do. So they could wake up. This is something that you'll see in the lower levels, so it's worth paying attention to. They can wake up with drive impact.
Close your eyes.
If they do that, you can easily beat it as long as you're paying attention. So drive impact is not a solution. They can wake up jumping. Nope, that's not a solution either. Right, so this is a very, very bad situation. There's not a lot of counterplay. Some characters, very few characters do have a counterplay. I'll show you one from Guile.
Close your eyes.
Right, his flash kick reaches far enough to bust out of that. But this is not true for a lot of characters. So for example, I'm pretty sure that Ryu's uppercut will not be fast enough to get out of this. Oh, you can. Oh, he just gets knocked out of it. If they're expecting fireball and they don't get one, then you can wreck them. Alright, let's just stick with Ryu for now. So I think this is definitely the most important thing to understand with Ingrid's corner pressure, is that even though you don't have a throw loop, you can just set up a fireball and it has basically the same effect as giving you a throw loop. When you're practicing this, the first thing that I think you should practice is putting your opponent to wake up with the jump. Right, they're trying to get out of the corner, very common situation. And you just want to get used to kicking them out of that, right? After you've done that, you're comfortable with it, shouldn't take very long, then put them to also wake up doing nothing. Right, and now we're just going to practice this a bit more realistically. Just going to drop. Bonk. Once you've got that, then put them on block reversal with their 4-frame button. And now we want to practice throwing them. If they putting up the fireball, if they jump, we uppercut them. If we don't see the immediate jump, we walk in and get the throw pressure. Nice. You basically have savage pressure on your opponent. And yeah, I don't really think that there's much else that you need to practice besides block reversal, forward jump. Right, so this is a situation where sometimes they're going to try to jab you out of your throw. Other times they're going to jump over your head like that. And in those situations, you've got to do the cross-cut dragon punch. So that's quarter circle back as they go over your head, and then you will uppercut them. Now notice there that when they jump over your head, usually players will be trying to do a kick or something like that because they'll be trying to cross-cut you, but you're moving under them. So as you get better, you should actually just be able to avoid their jump in and back throw them straight into the corner. Right, and then you just repeat the situation. So someone's got to jump out and then throw tech you to change places with you. It's very difficult. Sometimes you just want to throw them back in if you can. Other times you want to do the jump kick and just accept that you're back into the neutral. It's not really a problem. These are all really tough situations for your opponent. You've got the fireball, the throw pressure after you do the uppercut, because we're not in mid-screen, we're in the corner, which means you have enough time to walk up and throw them. You don't even need to dash. So I think this is layer 1 of Ingrid's corner pressure. After that, it's all just the usual stuff. Sometimes you want to mix it up with this crouching light kick motion, which then goes into your medium ballerina. So you can do the overhead wake up pressure. And I think that basically covers all the Okizeme that you need to get yourself into master. I will see you in the next video in gold, where we're going to talk about defense, particularly this move, which is her main defensive counter. We are going to talk about the level 2 super, which is extremely important. And we are going to talk about max damage cash out combos, which we haven't quite discussed yet. See you then.